Good night. Yes, good night. Welcome to your favorite internet online radio talk show, www.sxmtalk.com. Of course, I'm your host, Christopher Emmanuel, and trust me, we have a very interesting program tonight. Why? I have a guest in the studio, and I've been trying for a very long time to get this young lady here with me. But anyway, before we go to that, let me say a special good night to some friends of mine there. I just call them my Bushti people. Good night. Long time we haven't touched base. I have to speed around and have a little chit chat with you so you can keep me up to par with what is going on around the place. Call a friend. Call someone and tell them log on to www.sxmtalk.com because we'll be giving some melee tonight. Yes, and also I got to send a very, very special good night to my minister, Minister of Education, Sylvia Jacobs. Good night. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're relaxing and taking it a bit easy because I know you had your plate full this coming week. So I'm sending out a general good night, good evening, early morning to whoever is listening to this broadcast tonight. So like I was saying, I have it with me here because you know it's hard talk, but we're going to be a bit easy. Why? She's a bit nervous. She didn't want me to say that. For whatever reason, I don't even know why she's nervous. As a matter of fact, she's one of the inspirations why I'm here. We only know each other for a very short time, but the dialogue and the discussion that flows off from each other's mind is very, very intriguing. I'm talking about none other than student, founder of the most popular website right now for students in Holland, SXM Melee. I have here with me Apollonia Violenus. Apple, good night and welcome, and thank you very much for being here with me on SXM Talk. How are you doing?
Good night, Chris. I'm doing fine. Thank you for that grand, introduction. But I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me on the show.
You listen, I've been behind you for such a long time to get you here in the studio. What do you think about the studio? This is what it looks like. This is all us. This is what we do, you know?
I love your studio. I say it's a work in the making, but it's definitely where it needs to be.
It needs a little women's touch, a little woman's touch.
Yes, a lot of women's touch, but it's where it needs to be.
Right.
Keep it up.
Right. Like I say, I'm happy to have her here tonight because this young lady is doing a lot of things. Of course, she's a student in Holland. She's here in St. Martin right now doing stage. But her creative genius, the things that she do, the things that she think about, the way how she view her country, how she believe why students should be able to vote. We're going to have a very interesting program. I want to also give a thumbs up to my minister, Minister of Education, Sylvia Jacobs, because she's doing great things. I listened to her today on the press conference, and I was impressed. I was marveled at the way she came across. Now, when I have to beat up on my minister, I will beat up on my minister. But when I say that you're doing good things, I would come here and say you're doing good things. I believe the Teachers Summit that you're organizing come Monday, I believe it down at Western, I'm not too sure, where you're gathering all the high school teachers together to have a discussion, to mingle, to dialogue with each other, to talk, to free up themselves. Let's get all the animosity and the little insy-binsy things out of the window and talk as teachers, as minister. And I like the part when she said, later on, we're going to have a discussion with the management and the boards of the school. Why I'm bigging up the minister here tonight? Because she chose to dialogue with the teachers first. Okay? Now, I don't want to get into no political rhetoric when it comes to the former minister, to each its own. But I believe the trend and the track that the minister is on right now is a very good one. So I'm saying this to Minister Sylvia Jacobs, keep it up, do what you're doing. Let's get into our program tonight. Apollonia, I want to get into this discussion because I butt up on you through a very good friend, a mutual friend of ours, Bakari, and when I was telling him what I was going to Holland, I wanted to talk to some students and stuff. Your name is what came up when we met. You tell me all what you're doing. I said, wow, why I'm so adamant now that we have students doing some real stuff in Holland. Tell me a bit about this famous website you have right now, because anything that students in Holland want to find, anything people in St. Martin want to find when it comes to information, when it comes to events, when it comes to, tell me about St. Martin Millie. Talk to me a bit about St. Martin Millie.
Okay, Chris. St. Martin Millie is a website that I recently launched in December of 2011. How the website really came about was through my own need to being connected with things here in St. Martin. Being a student outside of St. Martin would, need information-wise. So every time I came across anything that was useful, what I would do is just save that information, and eventually I had like my own little database filled with useful links, etc. And I thought, hey, someone should actually create a website and make this available to the public. And when I started my communications course, because this was a process from some time back, when I started my communications course, which I'm busy doing now, it all came to me like, hey, I don't have to wait for someone to do it. I can do it myself. And it dawned on me for some time, okay, I'm going to create this website. This is the idea I have. What am I going to call it? And I really wanted it to be something that stood out and not the cliche. It took me some time, but eventually it came to me, what will get St. Martin's people attention? What do they like? And it came to me one day, Melee. Actually, all I really want people to do is check out the website. That's it, because I think that it's very useful. I've received that feedback that is very useful. People are able to contribute their own information to it directly. So I just want people to check it out and just see that, hey, this isn't bad. I can actually use this website. Tell a friend, bookmark it, share it, and that's all I want.
Well, for me, right, I am one of those would have to go into the bookstores and purchase a book that says Internet for Dummies, or Computer Know-abouts or Know-how for Dummies. I'm one of those guys. I'm a visual person. I just want to go click and get what I want. And I find your website to be so easy. How is it that you have everything there? Isn't there nothing you missed? You have everything. Wait, let me ask you this. How do you get the events? You're not living here. How do you get those events and post them up? There's things on that website that I found out happening in St. Martin and I write here. How do you manage to get your information? What do you do?
I do my research. I do my research, but really what I do, I put the time in to actually search the internet, see what's going on. Because of the postings that I've been doing, companies actually get in contact with me, send their event flyer and say, hey, you can have this posted on St. Martin Mail. And I'm like, of course, So it grows with the more work that I put in, but it's basically true research.
What's the kind of feedback that you're getting from students? What do they tell you about the website?
Well, I wouldn't say not so much only students, but generally speaking, most people do give me positive feedback about the website. People that know me personally, or sometimes people would send a message through Facebook or through the website. Hey, I love the site. How am I able to post my own link? Or, hey, I know some people. Like, for example, a lot of tourists get in contact with me and say, hey, I have a blog, or, I visit St. Martin, I love the website, and can I, how can I stay linked? So I really do get a lot of feedback from people about the site being very nice, being useful for themselves, as well as how they can link to it.
I have to be honest with you. I have to tell you the truth. When you told me about the website at first, I didn't go on it. It took me let me tell you what made me go on the website. And when I saw it there, I said, whoa, she's doing big things. She's moving on up. Every morning I would go in to the office and I want to hear the program that Billy D would have. Because we don't have no radio in the office, so we want to go on the internet. And I would type in my SOS 95.9 FM, get his website to pop up and listen to his program. And by doing that, bam, right in my face, St. Martin Millie. I'm like, how it is she gets St. Martin Millie and Billy D website, and I don't have SXMTalk on it. I mean, of course, you would put that there because it's another radio. I mean, and it's then when I said, okay, you know what? Let me go and check out this website. So all the months that we are talking, all the time that we are seriously having a dialogue as to the voting and the this and the that, I never went on the website. Until that time, I saw it linked to Billy D website. I was like, okay, it's real. I got to go and check it out. So that's my little thing. I had to just tell you the truth with it there. But how you manage to link up? I mean, you're moving. You're really, really moving. So it makes me say that we have students that are really doing things.
Of course, there's many students that are really doing things.
And you're one of them. But how do you find the time, Apollonia? How do you find the time to manage a website, full-time school, and everything else? I mean, how does it work?
Well, Chris, you make the time. I don't think the time is just there available, but I make the time. Really and truly, St. Martin Millie is like a baby to me, and I have a vision for the website, and I also have a goal, and that makes it, that gives me more motivation to do, the things that I have to do to reach there. So I just make the time. I know what I have to do every day to, achieve those goals that I have set aside for St. Martin Millie.
Let's talk a bit about your person, because you're here in St. Martin now.
Yes.
You're doing stage. You'll be going back to Holland and stuff like that. I mean, how does it feel to be home? How does it feel to be here, knowing that you come from one environment where you're furthering your tertiary education and then you're back home? I mean, honestly, from the depths of your heart, how do you see your country? What's your feeling about everything going on?
Well, it's always nice to be home, because I'm a person, I love to be with my family. I love the sun. I love the heat. But
that's the opposite. I like the cold.
Yeah, I just love to be home. It's always, nice to be home. This year would make 8 years that I'm now in the Netherlands.
Wow.
So, and I've been in the Netherlands from the time I was 17 years old. So I would say I became a woman in the Netherlands. And then you kind of find and make your own space. So I'm accustomed to that as well, because I have my own space. So when I come back home, I'm with my family, but then there's the adjusting I have to do where I'm not really in my own space. So it's nice to be home. Of course, you miss that, having your own space. But it's at the point now where I'm about to graduate from my course. And more than just being home to enjoy it, I'm really looking at the options I have available to myself, as well as the runnings of the country. And when I look at all of the issues at hand, and I would say the issues at hand, it's a bit frightening. It's a bit frightening.
What is frightening about it? I would like you to give it to me from a student's point of view, and then give it to me as Apollonia being home. What is frightening about it?
What is frightening, I guess, it's everywhere. You have to push hard for the things that you want to achieve. However, I think that there's not so much support for students, one, returning home, and also for the people here in St. Martin. You get that sense of, and you also see it going on in the community. There's a lot of unrest, with the employment situations. With the employment situations, I recently started my own small business. I had that registered, and I've been busy looking for support systems to see, what type of programs I can join, to help build myself up. And I realized that it's very difficult, because you don't have as much support as you would think there is.
Right.
And everyone seems to be in the struggle, at least in my circle. And that struggle is just to make ends meet.
That's what you're picking up.
Yeah, that's what I'm picking up, because I also know a lot of people who have finished school, return home, and who have found jobs and are in their jobs. However, they're very unhappy, and it's very stressful. So I'm just a bit worried.
Would it be right for me to say, you use the word struggle? Would it be right for me to say hustle instead of using struggling, but hustle because you're on that day to day to make ends meet. So you have to grind it out. You have to do what you have to do. I mean, it's a difference between struggling and hustling, right? Because if you're struggling, I mean, you're not really making it, but you're just going on because you have life. But if you're hustling, it's because, look, listen, I got to be on the grind. I got to keep moving. I mean, would it be right for me to replace the word struggle that you're using and say that everyone is on a hustle?
Well, given the explanation that you just gave, yeah, it's a hustle.
And you find that very frightening because it doesn't fare well for students coming back. I mean, but people would say it sounds as if you want it easy.
No,
I mean, we all have
no.
to hustle and struggle for what we
No.
want.
By no means I want it easy. However, I just think that it's just sad to see that it has to be that way in most instances. Like I said, that's the circle that I have. Most people are on the hustle and they're just doing what they're doing just for getting by sakes. It's not necessarily because this is what they wanted to do, or this is what they're happy doing, or they feel like they're being able to grow in these certain positions, or even the businesses that they have. It's a hustle. It's really difficult.
But then, what is it you would like to see? Because I mean, we are a small community, and we are trying our best as a country. I agree. I would say the bureaucracy and the red tape to get things done easier, to move forward, is difficult. Yes, I would say that. But I mean, what is it you would like to see if you're saying around your circles it's just a hustle every day? What is it you would like to see more done easier or freed up or simplified? What is it really?
Well, there are many things, Chris, and it
Just
doesn't
give me
have
one.
to. It doesn't have to be simple, right? But as a student returning from the Netherlands, something that I think I would like to see is the opportunity for everyone that has a skill. For example, in Samar, there's many artists or different, young people doing their thing, whatever it is, just given the opportunity to use that thing to help the country move forward. For example, being able to take out loans to start a business, having that support where you can actually have that business as part of some type of program that can be implemented in the communities, etc. But just given the opportunity and a support system.
Right. Well, I must say that I totally agree with you because that is something I've been talking about for a number of years. I experienced the same thing also. And I also talk about things being difficult and hard and why we as a people need to wake up. We need to start looking at things going on. But let me say this, though, and it rolls right in to the topic at hand. Why should students in Holland be able to vote? Because I know it is something that have been plaguing me when I was in Holland, and I always use this example where I felt as if I was penalized because I was furthering my tertiary education or going on to study, and we are in this kingdom, so we had to write out from St. Martin and write into Holland, and by virtue of doing that, you don't have the possibility to vote. And I used to always say I think it's discriminatory because the students in the United States that leave St. Martin and go to the United States, they can vote, and they have no relations to the kingdom. They don't have to write out. So it's like we are leaving the bathroom and going into the kitchen, but we are still in the same house. And then we see that, Dutch nationals, or if you want to call them the derogatory word as Macambas or Metro, if you want to use those words, they can stay right here in St. Martin and vote for the Tweede Kamer elections in Holland. Now, by saying that, it's not a Holland problem or a Holland fault as to why we can't vote. It's a St. Martin issue, right? So I'm listening to what you're saying when it says about students. Do you believe students in Holland should have the right to be able to vote?
I've thought about this. I never even knew that it was an option. I just assumed that, the people in Holland, for example, or people from Holland, Dutch nationals that live in St. Martin didn't have the right to vote because I assumed they signed out of Holland.
Even though they signed
I
out?
just assumed that's just how it was, It's only until recently, some years now, I've come to learn that they can actually vote. And just knowing that for me, it's like, okay, well, then we should have the right to vote as well. Every time there has been an election since I've been in Holland, I would always think to myself, like, I wish I could go home and vote because I actually have some knowledge now and I have an opinion.
Right.
I have the knowledge, I have an opinion, and it's very, how to say, easy to look into the situation, being out of it, and forming that opinion. And I think that's what a lot of students in Holland have as well. I do think St. Martin students in Holland should have the right to vote.
I have been talking about this issue when I always give the example. I said, look, I'm living in a situation today. I'm living in a status today, which is country St. Martin. And Christopher wasn't able to vote in that referendum in 2000 or 99 or the year whenever it first came about, in the 3 different referendums that we had. Why? Because I was studying in Holland at the time. And you mentioned that, yes, because of you now formulating an opinion, because of you now, wanting to be part of the process, and you can say by extension, you believe many students in Holland should be able to vote. But then let me throw a trick question at you. Why do you think the powers to be here is not really looking into that?
I don't know, Chris. I really don't know. I don't know. I think it could be because the students haven't, let's say, brought forward the issue.
Lobbied or started to talk about
lobbied, talked about it enough. I think it's just something through the grapevine, as we usually do. But I don't think it's something that has really been brought forward to the table and said, like, we are interested, this is what we want.
Here's where I'm going to pull you a little bit now and try to squeeze you a bit. I saw you in the newspaper a couple of months ago on a panel discussion in the Hague, I believe it was.
It was in the Bodegraven.
Yeah, with our Minister of Plenipotentiary, Mr. Voges, and you were one of the panelists having a similar discussion on this issue. Elaborate a bit about that. What was that about?
Okay, this panel discussion that they had, it was about, it was a foundation that held a cultural event every year for the Netherlands Antilles. And that was the first event that they were having since the demolishing of the Netherlands Antilles. And the focus was on the youth. And for each island of the Netherlands Antilles, they wanted to have a youth representative to come and talk about what the youths want or the type of future that we see for our countries. So I was approached by the Minister of Plenipotentiary to speak on behalf.
Why you?
I believe it's because I've been active with student discussion sessions in The Hague, and one in which he was invited because he told me, he appreciated what was being done and he thought that, it was a good initiative. So that's why he asked me to come and be a representative for the St. Martin youth.
Right. You were also talking about it was a cultural event and they wanted a student from every island to come and talk about. How did the part about voting came in? Because I believe you mentioned.
Yes, I did mention it.
I'm sorry I didn't bring that today newspaper article, so I could have normally put it up in the camera and show them the young lady having the panel discussion. That is what gave me an interest in contacting the young lady, because it was something that I am diligently working on, a motion, a process, bringing it to Parliament, bringing it to the members, bringing it to the minister to start to think about it. Okay, and when I saw her on the panel discussion, that's when we started to talk and stuff like that. So why did you find it fit to bring that across?
Because at that time, Chris, I had a number, when I was approached first of all for this event, I really wanted to bring forward as much vision as possible that I myself, as well as in discussion with other young persons, saw as a vision for country St. Martin. And that was one of the issues. It still is one of the issues.
Right. Like I say, more and more when I talk to you, I'm impressed. I'm impressed because young people now is starting to get involved or want to be involved. And you and I have had a discussion I mean, you have been back and forth. I must admit, sometimes I would be, oh gosh, Apple again, send me another email. Okay, that's students.
So that's
students.
what you do.
I'll give it away. Because I was intrigued to know that you wanted to know more. You wanted to find out, and I started to get the information. And you said, well, Chris, I'm putting this together. I'm going to start to contact students. We want to get a signature drive. We want to get a motion going. We want to get this. We want to get that. And from doing that, more students, I realized, started to request more information, wanting to know more about this process. And my thing is, every St. Martin student in Holland should be able to vote come 2014 in the election. Because these are the young people that's going to inherit what we are doing here in St. Martin. I say it all the time. I am living a country St. Martin. I am living a 10-10-10. I am living a separate status. I am living away from what I have known the Netherlands Antilles.
And to add to what you're saying also, Chris, I feel as though through discussion with many students that they feel as though, well, St. Martin doesn't have anything to offer to me, so I ain't going back. That's the attitude of a lot of students, whether we want to believe it or not. Or some people who go there to study and they eventually stop studying and they, that's the impression that they have, But I think that also is an initiative, to make St. Martiners feel empowered, to feel that you too can be part of the development of your country. Because really and truly, the youths, including myself, we feel as if we're being pushed behind of the burner. We don't have any opportunities.
Are you seriously saying that's how you
yes,
genuinely feel?
That's how I genuinely feel that unless I come back to St. Martin and really get a good hookup or whatever, how it happens, I won't be able to afford land. I won't be able to compete with some of the biggest businesses that come from wherever and get the permits to have what they want to have. I feel as if I won't be able to get that backing from the institutions, what perhaps should be in place to help for social development of the St. Martin youths and people. I don't feel like I would be able to receive these things.
Let me be the devil's advocate here and say that if I listen to you, it sounds as if you're saying you're entitled. Because you're a St. Martiner, so I must be. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that I'm entitled, but what I am saying is that I don't feel as if there's the opportunity for these things here in St. Martin for me.
Why don't you create those things? Why don't you say, as a student, I'm coming back home, I'm coming to my country, and I'm going to create those things. I'm not going to wait for an opportunity. I'm going to make myself known. I'm going to make myself heard. I'm going to shake up this island, and in 2, in 3 years, in 4 years, everyone is going to know the name Apollonia. Everyone is going to know Violenus. Everyone is going to know about St. Martin Mille. Why come back and say you feel there's not an opportunity and not say, you know what? It may not have the opportunity, but I'm going to create the possibility for the opportunity to be there.
I've started. I'm on my mission.
That's
I'm on my mission, I'm on my journey. And the most I can do is continue to do what I've already started and keep pushing hard.
Right. I know that for a fact. But I got to come back to that sentiment that you say, how you feel. Would you say that many students in Holland also feel that way?
Yes.
I can't speak on behalf of students in the United States because I never really been to the United States and I don't know much students there. I'm familiar with Holland because I lived there for a number of years.
I don't know all the students in Holland. I haven't had dialogue with all the students in Holland, but I'm just talking about, generally speaking, the persons that I have, in my circle. And the mutual feeling that a lot of people have, Yeah.
We're not coming back home. There's nothing for St. Martin.
That's not everyone's opinion, that they're not coming back home. But that's many people's opinion.
You know what? Let me throw this out at you.
Or also that they're going to stay, for example, in Holland for X amount of years and work and save that money, which would allow them to come home and develop themselves on the level where perhaps they might not be able to achieve it as fast as, or maybe not even here in St. Martin, given the resources they believe they might have available to them.
I know you know about the change of government. A while ago, I was bragging about my favorite minister, the Honorable Minister Sylvia Jacobs, Minister of Education. Let's hypothetically say that she's watching. She's listening to what we are talking here, and then tomorrow she gets in contact with Apollonia and say, Apple, Miss Violenus, please, it will be my greatest pleasure for you to grace your presence in my office. Let us sit down and talk and explain to me a bit more about those issues that you was talking about. What would be one of the first things you would convey to the minister that it's a major problem for students in Harlem, whether it's S4, whether it's just the environment? What would you say, Minister? This is a bottleneck. This is a heartache. This is an issue with us in Harlem. What can you just pull from the top of your head if she would ask you that?
I personally never went to Holland with the S4. I applied directly through the study financing system. So I knew from in the beginning that the struggle for myself would be different than those who go under the S4. I know that I would have to buy my own ticket. I know that I would have to find my own place to stay on my own. I know that I would have to pay my insurance. So when I went to Holland, I know that those things I had to be responsible for. I know many students that go to Holland, they have a complacency, they depend on the S4 to do this and do that for them because they got a scholarship, and things, it goes crazy. But at the same time, a lot of things I've heard from students, it went wrong along the way with the S4. These are these students' experiences. I would say a support system, because S4 does have their services that they offer to students, but I think there's more issues that students actually deal with in Holland. A lot of the time, because of shame, they won't call home and tell their parents what they're dealing with. And also because of maybe lack of resources, S4 is not able to deal with these type of situations that students deal with. But I would just say a better support system, or at least more support.
It's one of the words that you keep stressing on, a better support system, a support system. We don't have that support. What kind of support system?
Chris?
I mean, what is it really?
In Holland, there's so many different things that students deal with or that people deal with.
But it's all part of growing up.
Yeah, it's all part of growing up,
being
Chris.
On your own. It's all part about adulthood, Apple.
It's all part of growing up. But something has to be wrong when only 10% of students are graduating and returning home.
I hear you.
I'm a student too, and I've been through much. It's through the support of my family and friends, why I'm still doing what I'm doing. But students deal with real issues. And not everything is in the book.
But you're not a baby anymore.
No, you're not a baby anymore, Chris.
Your mommy and daddy is not there.
You're not a baby anymore.
It is time for you to stand on your two own feet.
Okay. You're not a baby anymore, Chris. However, you asked me a question and I gave you an answer. Yes. If there's anything that, let's say, for example, the Ministry of Education can do, if there is a support system for students and it needs to be enhanced or what have you, to help to ensure that the goal that they have can be achieved, then they just have to do that if it means an enforced support system.
Okay, and you're absolutely correct. I did ask you a question, and you did give me an answer. However, I want to be a bit rude, because if I keep listening to you, I mean, it's as if you're saying that you still want that sort of cushion, and I am saying you're in the real world. Deal with it.
Okay, Chris.
Suck it up.
Chris, okay, this is my opinion. It's either one or the other. You're either going to give a service and you give it good, or you don't give it, so that the people who are looking for that service know exactly what they have to deal with in advance.
Okay, fair enough.
Because when you're dependent on something and it doesn't work, all of a sudden, everything has gone wrong for you, that can really lead to big problems.
Right.
However, if you know that you are responsible for that thing yourself, it would put a different type of outlook on the issue. So my thing is, if you have a system that's supposed to do something, then it has to work.
Right. And this is one of the reasons why I love talking to the young lady. Like I said, she's doing big things. She talked about her website. She's a founder of St. Martin Melee. I encourage St. Martin people to check it out. Trust you me. Anything you want to find. Listen, things that you don't even know going on in St. Martin, you're going to find it on the website. She talked about how she feel being here in St. Martin and the things that is going on. She also mentioned about our students in Holland. But you know my passion, my thing, is at 2014, each and every student in Holland must and should be able to vote. And then I had a few friends and a few people send me some email, send me some messages saying, why only students? Not only students living in Holland, why not every St. Martiner? They should be able to vote too. And my thing is, yes, absolutely, you're right. But for right now, I am talking about an experience that I had in Holland as a student. I'm gonna pose a question to her. I'm gonna throw it out at her. How would you feel? I mean, where should the focus be placed? Should it be placed on the population of St. Martiners in Holland, or should it be the students in Holland should be able to vote?
I think it should be both, the students and the population of St. Martiners. Because it's only fair if persons from the Netherlands who aren't students here on St. Martin can vote, then St. Martin people should have the same right as well.
Well, I mean,
because we all have a role to play, and it does not mean you have to be here on the soil.
I mean, you're still in the kingdom.
You're still in the kingdom.
But you know, it's not a Holland problem now, it's a Dutch problem. You know, it's a St. Martin issue. You know, they are the ones saying that you're out of the registry, you're written out, you're not in the system, so you can't vote. It's just a matter of changing.
So you mean to
policy.
tell me that for that policy to go in place, it's something that we can do here?
It's something that we can do right here in St. Martin. It's nothing to be done in Holland. Is us, is we here in St. Martin who have to do it. Let me ask you this.
But why do you keep saying that St. Martin is saying that, yeah, that you're not interested, or?
Well, I am saying that. I am saying that bold. I am saying that forcefully. I am saying it outright that St. Martin government, now that we are in a system where we have ministers, where we have members of parliament, I would say they're not interested in it because, you know, let me say it here, because they don't care about the rights of students in Holland to vote. Why? Because they are comfortable with the way the system works now. That's what I'm saying. They are comfortable in the manner in which the system is now, because what you're doing is changing the whole electoral process, because now students are more aware. And we are talking about 2,000-3,000 students, whether they're in school or not. But you went up from St. Martin on the basis of studying. You know, so now can you imagine that you have to widen or broaden your campaign strategy? It's not only here no more, but now your message got to reach Holland. Your message have to reach a group that is more technologically inclined, whether it's the iPad, the iPhone, the BlackBerry, the computer, the internet. You have to be savvy now with your new message. You can't come with the chicken leg and the Johnny cake and the blocks and the cement and the zinc and the sand to the students. It's just not going to work.
Chris, I refuse to believe that. I would like to sit down with the Minister of Education and hear those words from her mouth.
Well, of course you wouldn't hear them.
I would like to, well, then hold dialogue with her, because I refuse to believe that. I can't understand why it is.
You know what?
That,
let me stop you there.
That legislators here in St. Martin have the ability to make such an amendment, let's say, to the law, and wouldn't do that.
I challenge you, before you go back to Holland, to write every legislator here on St. Martin, write them a letter on behalf of, whether it's Apollonia, whether it's on behalf of a student in Holland or whatever, you write them a letter asking them why we in Holland as students can't vote. I challenge you to get into that discussion.
But we
with them,
already know why
that
we can't
dialogue with
vote,
them.
because we signed out of the
Right.
island to write in to the
But
Netherlands.
let me switch the question around. Ask them if you think students in Holland should have the right to vote come 2014. As a student, I put that challenge on you. Since you refuse to believe it. Now, that's my opinion. That's Christopher's opinion. Because I am saying as a legislator, it is something, if I was in that position, it is something I would work on post haste. Because I felt it. I want to have a voice. You said it. You have an opinion. You became a woman in Holland. Those were your words.
But it's
So, since you refuse to believe what I am saying, because if it was not so, then from time we was in the island council setting, it should have been given priority. It should have been a point of discussion. We should have been hearing it along the lines with our political individuals. But they have never been. So as a matter of fact, besides the discussion you had in Holland and what we are having here now, and all the discussion that I am having, you don't hear it nowhere else. And I would say it would behoove the members, the legislators that are there right now, not to do something like that, because you're broadening your electoral votes. So I challenge you on that. Since you don't want to believe what I'm saying, then you go and get your own opinion. You go and get your own facts from our members of parliament. After all, you're a student. Let me hear them say, no, I don't think they should be able to vote. And then, yeah, you take it from there. But that's my point, and I'm sticking to it. Okay? Because if that was the case, you would have been voting from in Holland, or even coming down to vote. You wouldn't have to be worrying about being written out or anything like that.
Yeah, they can easily have a representative in Holland where students can go and vote.
But we have a representative. We have the Minister of Plenipotentiary.
Yeah, but let's just say if it's a procedure and a process, I assume all of those things would be part of it.
Right. It's a procedure and a process here in St. Martin too. The people can go to the Dutch representative here in St. Martin, right across from the St. Martin arcade, the St. Martin Boulevard in town, go upstairs, register themselves, and they can vote. So what makes it so difficult for us to go to the gemeente in Holland and cast that vote?
And you see, Chris, when I think about things like this, I am going to accept this challenge, and I am going to write the legislators. Perhaps even if I can meet with them, that would be even better. However, just giving the situation to avoid them having to think too much about what they would have to do to make it possible. I already have a plan as to how it can be possible.
Tell me about it.
And I myself would, work on that plan to make it, just make it happen. Just to make it happen. Go through all the channels, find out what type of systems have been used, around the world for persons in one country to vote in the next, etc., etc. But I would like to know if I would be given the opportunity to present this plan and have it approved.
Of course, I don't see why not. If you believe you have a plan, if you believe you have something, you take it to Parliament, you write the President of Parliament, you write to the feed, you send it in, you book it in, asking for an audience with the legislators, the members of Parliament, and of course, they have an obligation, okay, to answer your queries, to answer your questions. And I think, since you say you accept the challenge, I definitely think it is something you should get into. And let me put on my little political rhetoric here and my little jabs or two. I would encourage you to go and talk to my Minister of Education, the Honorable Sylveria Jacobs. Go and make an appointment. Ask to speak to her assistant. I know the young lady very well. Say you would like to have an audience with her and explain it. And this is what I talk about when I said St. Martin and their students seems to want to have it easy. These are the things you have to do. You have to make yourself heard. You have to make yourself known. You have to say, St. Martin, I am here. And that's how you're going to get things done in this country. So the struggling move to a hustling and move to accomplishing, you know. And I always say this when the young professor I interviewed one time said, where you see an observation, you have an obligation. So I think it is something you should definitely look to focus on. I was just given the sign that we have about 5 minutes left on the program, and I'm going to give you 2 to talk about anything you want to talk about, whether you want to elaborate on St. Martin Melee, whether you want to talk about students, anything. 2 minutes, it's yours.
Okay. Well, what I would like to do is encourage everyone who is watching the program right now to, if you have any ideas or anything that you're busy with, just keep on pushing, keep on doing your thing. Something I try to do, especially with SXM Melee, is promote, highlight other youths like myself doing their thing. So hit me up, because I believe that's something we all have to do in order to move forward. I provide space for ads. Whatever I can do, push your videos through my website, etc. That's just something I think I have to do, and that we deserve it as young people.
Apollonia, I want to thank you very much for being on the program. Like I said, this is Hard Talk. I was easy on you, but I know that you have so much more to say. Like I say, we just talk all the time. But this is what we have here, right? She see the studio. It's a work in progress. She said it needs a lady's touch. And I would agree with her on that, because, we as men could be some brutes at time. And like for me, I just have everything just put down and hook up and let's just run with it. So I can imagine she wants to come and put her nice little colors here and her little touches there and there. But if there's a message or anything or a program you want to get into, hit me up, talk to me. Believe it or not, we have a manager, can tell you how things can run. But hit me up, drop me a line on Facebook. It's very easy. Just type in Christopher Emmanuel, SXMTalk, and I'm there. Apollonia Violenus, I want to thank you very much for being on Hard Talk. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Thank you very
success.
much. St. Martin people, like I said here, take care of yourself. God bless each and every one of you. Have a wonderful night. Bye.